Welcome back. You're watching Europe Votes, our daily programme on the EU election. I'm here with our Europe editor, Armin Georgian. Armin, welcome to the programme. Voting's already begun now, hasn't it? It began in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's right. The Netherlands have kicked off 4 days of voting across the EU. The Netherlands is the only EU member state to hold a single-day vote this early, but it will be followed by Ireland on Friday and the other EU countries at the weekend. Now, as this programme went to air, turnout was reported to be several percentage points higher than in 2019. Here's what one Dutch voter said earlier about the overall significance of this election.
I think it is very necessary that we are aware that we are part of the EU. I also find it a bit invisible. What does it bring to us in the end? So I find that unclear, but I think the EU is really important.
OK, the opinion there of a Dutch voter. Now for the latest in our series on young voters here in Europe. Here's Dina, a 24-year-old actress from the Netherlands.
Ik vind het zo moeilijk om te zeggen of ik stem of niet stem. Want ik stem ook eerlijk gezegd in Nederland met moeite. Maar ik denk dat ik wel zou willen stemmen. Ik moet alleen dan wel mijn research gaan doen welke partij ik zou willen stemmen. Maar ik ben wel een beetje zat om dezelfde mensen te zien. Dus ik denk dat ik wel dan voor vernieuwing zou willen gaan. Dus iets nieuws, iets wat een beetje niet echt bekend is. De meeste mensen om mij heen zijn wel pro-Europa. Omdat het gewoon voor jonge mensen best wel veel voordelen heeft. Voordelen als in reizen, voordelen als in het geld niet hoeven te wisselen. Voordelen als in alles is gemakkelijker om elkaar te zien. Ik denk eerlijk dat Europa rechtser zal zijn na de verkiezingen. Want het wordt ook alleen maar rechtser en alleen maar moeilijker in... Als je kijkt in Nederland, dan kijk je naar Frankrijk. Vrouwen worden gewoon verbied wat ze mogen dragen. Omdat je een geloofsovertuiging dan misschien... Je hoopt wel dat het beter wordt. Dat iedereen gewoon meer vrijheid heeft in wat ze mogen dragen. Weet je, dus dat...
Now, in Spain, attempts to encourage voter turnout took a hit when the country's data protection watchdog suspended tools planned by Meta, which would have reminded people to vote on Facebook and on Instagram. The watchdog said the tools could have violated Spanish data protection rules. Meta, though, said it would comply, but that it disagrees with the decision, insisting that it does respect users' privacy. Meanwhile, many Spaniards look set to vote with their wallets. Cost of living issues are high on people's agenda, as these supermarket shoppers and staff can attest to.
People are not earning enough, so we have to keep lowering prices more and more.
When you see that a litre of oil costs €10, you just think we've all gone mad.
OK, we're going to talk now about how the EU affects our daily lives, and food labelling is a big part of that. Well, I'm here with Elisa Gadeva, who has arrived with some edibles, and I can see some ham in front of you. And if my eyesight doesn't betray me, it's 2 different shades of pink, isn't it?
Yes, Tom. Well, it's dinner time, but you've noticed well, one ham is less colored than the other one. Well, that's because it actually doesn't contain any nitrates. And nitrate salts are often put in cured meat, like this one, for example, to help with conservation and basically to help with its pink color. But according to the European Food Safety Authority, nitrates could sometimes lead to cancer. So in 2023, the European Commission took things in their hands and reduced the nitrate percentage in food. So, for example, now for 1 kilogram of cured meat, we can have up to 150 milligrams of nitrate, which, well, it's not zero, but it's less than before.
And Elisa, what about the biscuits as well? What's all that about?
Yeah, well, those are the special snacks of my dog Masha, but they're also the hero of our story because they're actually fully nitrate-free. And that's because pet food like cat food and dog food don't contain any nitrates because they have been fully banned. And yeah, that's pretty weird because they've been banned in dog food, but not in our ham. Well, don't get too worried though, because that's quite normal since people eat way less meat than animals. But if you still want to reduce your nitrate consumption, you should just reduce meat or opt in for this less appetizing nitrate-free version.
So just to remind us that the darker one is the good one, or which way around is it?
No, this one is the nitrate-free one.
Okay,
and this
so the
one...
slightly lighter one is the healthier one, we think.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
You want to go for the paler variety
Paler shade of ham.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that, and thank you very much indeed to Elita Gadeva for telling us about those things. I didn't know anything about dog biscuits, are they? No, I can't have one of those. All right, thank you very much. Let's take you now to Belgium for our country report. And the future of a nuclear power deal there is the key issue in an election campaign. France 24's Alex Le Bourdon and Dave Keating filed this report for us.
It's a door-to-door canvassing session for these two young candidates from the MR, a liberal centre-right party in Belgium.
Hello, sir. Let me introduce myself. My name is Adrian Krunen, and I'm the youngest candidate in the European elections.
Today, they're campaigning only a few dozen kilometers from the Tihange power station. It's an opportunity to hammer home one of the central messages of their program, the merits of nuclear power.
Almost half of our electricity comes from nuclear power.
The power plants at the moment are not yet ready to be replaced, in my opinion, because there is not yet enough of an alternative. But it is still a fact that they are something that is dangerous.
I think we should extend nuclear power because it's good to be self-producing in your own country instead of going to get energy from other countries.
Belgium decided to phase out nuclear power in 2020 before revisiting its decision 2 years later in the face of the energy crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. The government then decided to extend the activity of the power plants for 10 years. But for these activists, Belgium should go even further.
In fact, we're banking on nuclear renewal. So what does that mean? These are the SNRs. These are small nuclear reactors which are much smaller, which take up less space, which are less difficult to set up, which are more mobile, and above all, which have a much smaller core. So in terms of nuclear waste, we're dealing with a much smaller problem.
That's an idea which is controversial among the youngest Belgian voters, called to vote from the age of 16 for the first time in the European election.
A point that really poses a problem and where I want to get involved is ecology.
This candidate from the Green Party understood this well, and even if their political party had to rally behind Belgium's decision to extend nuclear power, the Belgian Greens firmly oppose the pro-nuclear argument.
We are often told that we are dogmatic, but I don't think so, because currently if we follow the market, nuclear power will disappear because it costs too much.
The debate also divides national governments in the EU. Pro-nuclear countries like France highlight the low carbon emissions of nuclear energy.
The deployment time of nuclear capacities is immeasurably higher than that of renewable energies. If we restart the nuclear sector now, we will see the effects in 15 years at the earliest, but we no longer have that time.
The EU has committed to reducing its greenhouse gas emissions by 55% within the next 6 years.
Alex Le Bourdon and Dave Keating reporting from Belgium. Now, MEPs are supposed to vote with their party groups, but they don't always toe the line, and that creates some strange bedfellows, at least temporarily. Sophie Samai and Luke Brown report.
Members of the European Parliament each have a vote which usually follows party lines. But how did those political groups vote during the past term in office? Since February 2022, the war in Ukraine has dominated policymaking, and MEPs have debated many amendments related to the conflict in the hemicycle. When the European Commission proposed a €50 billion emergency aid package to help Ukraine, MEPs voted almost unanimously in favour, with only 40 votes against and 39 abstentions. That opposition came mostly from non-aligned or independent MEPs, or from the far-right Identity and Democracy group. Jordan Bardella, the lead candidate for the National Rally in France, was one of the abstainers, whereas all of the other French parties voted in favour of the emergency aid package. On other issues, such as environmental laws, MEPs' votes aren't necessarily so predictable. The Greens caused surprise when they didn't support the bill to reduce the use of phytosanitary products by 50% by 2030. The leader of France's Greens, Marie Toussaint, argued the bill didn't go far enough. Indeed, the Conservative EPP group supported the plan despite the fact they strongly rejected the Nature Restoration Act in early 2024, a stance echoed by the other far-right and right-wing groups. They argued that the strict environmental measures of the Restoration Act would damage the farming sector. It was down to the Greens, the Left and the Socialists to vote in favour of the Act, which should see member states restore 30% of damaged habitats by 2030. The most recent major bill to be adopted was even more controversial. Europe's Social Democrats and Conservatives supported the Migration and Asylum Act. But in France, the lead candidates for two of the major parties, the EPP's François-Xavier Bellamy and the Socialists' Raphael Glucksmann, both voted against the bill, defying their own parliamentary groups. Indeed, in France, Valérie Ayé of Renew Europe was the only lead candidate to support the contentious bill.
OK, well, that's it for today's edition of Europe Votes. So we're going to have a special edition, aren't we, on Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. What's that going to be about?
That's right, Tom. So we're going to have reporters at the headquarters in France, but of course, crucially, also correspondents dotted around Europe to bring you all the European results in this election. We're going to have analysts on set, of course. So 2.5 hours of special coverage here from 7:30 on Sunday night.
Oh, well, you're going to have a busy weekend. Thank you very much indeed, Armin Georgian, with today's edition of Europe Vote.